Hello, my name is Brandon K. Crowder, and this is my Capstone Defense Media presentation. I chose case number 3, American college football athlete. But before we get to the case, let's discuss a little bit about the sport, American college football. American football is an intermittent team sport where athletes are required to sprint, rapidly change direction, tackle, and collide with opposition players. Using the data from NCAA previous season, the population of the number of American college football players is 77,204. The average height and weight of a defensive back is 5'11 and 192 pounds and 13.3% body fat. From the 60 percentile rank, the max bench press is 315 pounds. The max squat is 405 pounds. The max power clean is 261 pounds. The mean average time for the 40-yard sprint was 4.52 seconds. The VO2 max for a college defensive back is 52 to 56 milliliters per kilogram per minute. The pro agility test is 4.4 seconds. The mean average time for the L drill is 6.9 seconds. For the counter movement vertical jump, a jump of greater than 28 inches will put our athlete at an excellent rating. Now on to our case and the assessments. The athlete is 19 years old, 5'11", 175 pounds, 79.5 kilograms, rounded up to 80 kilograms, 12% body fat, and 70.4 kilograms of lean body mass. The athlete participates in football competitively and wants to significantly improve his strength, power, speed, and agility. His college has minimal strength and conditioning support. He previously followed a structured weightlifting program in high school. He wants to gain 15 pounds for his final junior college year to compete and play at another college. He just completed his freshman season and is going home for Christmas in 2 weeks. There will be a beginning, mid, and final assessment. The first assessment will be taken after the athlete returns to school from Christmas before the off-season begins. The mid-assessment will be after Block 2 at the beginning of Week 9, and the final assessment will be after Block 4 during Week 16. The assessments will be of the athlete anthropometrics, power clean, back squat, flat bench press, vertical jump, 5-10-5, the 40-yard dash, L drill, and T-test. The off-season is a preparatory. Focus on building foundational strength and hypertrophy, high training volume, 3 to 6 sets of 6 to 12 reps. Moderate intensity from 67 to 85% 1RM. Due to his college lacking sufficient strength and conditioning support, and considering that he had previously followed a structured weightlifting program in high school, I decided to regress him to a focus on strength endurance, muscular endurance. This approach will help him progress toward hypertrophy, as most high school strength and conditioning programs are not as advanced as those at the collegiate level. Also, this approach will help him ensure his technique is adequate as he transitions through each block. The core program design for the football player will be a 16-week off-season block linear periodization resistance program. The block periodization training approach is an efficient, efficacious alternative to traditional training design. The basic and primary premise of block periodization is the employment of highly concentrated training workload phases. periodization blocks and the resulting after and residual effects. The program will have 4 blocks. Blocks 1 through 3 will focus on strength endurance and hypertrophy, and block 4 will transition to basic strength. Conditioning will be 2 days per week, and resistance training frequency will be 4 days per week. Intensity will begin from low moderate at 50 to 75% of 1 RM with a high volume of 2 to 3 sets of up to 15 repetitions, and transition to moderate to high at 80 to 87% of 1 RM with a volume of 2 to 3 sets of 4 to 6 repetitions. On to conditioning. Hassan from 2021 stated that resisted sprint training with a resistance of 10% of the body weight helped to recruit the hip and knee extensor muscles, which resulted in more significant application of power in a horizontal direction as a sprint, jump, or hop, which are key determinants of performance in any sports. The use of resisted sprinting will be done with prowlers, resistant bands, and pulling sleds with attached waist belts. Cahill from 2020 stated that sprint-specific training should be used to develop speed using resisted sled training in the form of both sled pushing and pulling. Coaches need to consider the maturity, competency, and training age of young athletes to prescribe the most appropriate sprint-specific training programs. Sled pulling is recommended as a more specific form of resisted sled training than sled pushing due to the use of arm drive. Bentley from 2016 study results found that waist attachment point seems to be the most suitable when training for the acceleration phase of sprinting. Sled towing with this attachment led to fewer kinematic alterations and greater net horizontal impulses when compared with the shoulder attachment trials. Understanding this information, sled towing will be used for the acceleration phase of sprinting, and sled pushing will be used to increase force during tackling and blocking an opponent. Miller from 2006 study is very encouraging and demonstrates the benefits of plyometric training can have on agility. Not only can athletes use plyometrics to break up the monotony of training, but they can also improve their strength and explosiveness while working to become more agile. Hoffman Triplett from 2016 stated that plyometric exercise prescription is similar to resistance and aerobic exercise prescription mode, intensity, frequency, duration, recovery, progression, and a warm-up period must all be included in the design of a sound plyometric training program. Unfortunately, there is little research demarcating optimal program variables for the design of plyometric exercise programs. Therefore, when prescribing plyometric exercise, practitioners must rely on the available research, practical experience, and the methodology used for designing resistance and aerobic training programs. The guidelines that follow are largely based on Chu's work and the National Strength and Conditioning Association's position statement. Plyometrics will begin with low intensity, extensive training with skips, push-offs, jumps and reach, and pogos. Then progress to medium intensity such as single ankle hops, barrier hops, drop frees, and lateral moves such as side skips and lateral barrier hops. Then proceed to higher intensity training such as depth jumps, and depth jumps with lateral movement. Continuing with conditioning. Burning from 2015 discussed how both the anaerobic and aerobic energy systems work together during intermittent team sports activities. During high intensity sprints or tackles, energy is provided by anaerobic metabolism, while simultaneously aerobic metabolism continues to supply energy to the vital organs. The predominance of energy systems that is used during football is determined by the player's position. Hoffman and Triplett from 2016 discuss how exercises such as sprints and plyometric drills primarily stress the phosphagen system. They are usually less than 10 seconds in duration and minimize fatigue by allowing almost complete recovery between sets. Longer duration interval type anaerobic training predominantly uses energy production from the glycolytic system, in which shorter rest intervals are adopted during high intensity exercise. The integration of high intensity exercise with short rest periods is considered an important aspect of anaerobic training, as athletes are often required to perform nearly maximally under fatigue conditions during competitions. It is, however, critical that appropriate anaerobic training be programmed and prescribed in such a way as to optimize the physiological adaptations that determine performance. Competitive sport requires the complex interaction of all the energy systems and demonstrates how each of them contributes to a varying extent to fulfill the global metabolic demands of competition. Understanding this information, conditioning and plyometrics will be done after resistance training on Tuesday and by itself on Saturday. Wednesday and Sunday will be rest and recovery days. Initial conditioning training will consist of longer duration mat drills and box drills with a work interval of 1 to 3 minutes to build an aerobic base of the fast glycolysis oxidative system with a work to ratio of 1 to 3 to 1 to 4. Then proceed into mostly fast glycolytic training with mat drills, box drills, sled push and pull, and sprint starts, work interval of 15 to 30 seconds, and a work to rest ratio of 1 to 3 to 1 to 5. And phosphagen system training with a work interval of 5 to 10 seconds and a work to rest ratio of 1 to 12, 1 to 20. On to nutrition recommendations. Key factors include energy expenditure, body composition, nutritional needs, macronutrients, micronutrients, hydration, supplements, and nutrient timing. The athlete is 19 years old, 5'11, 175 pounds, 80 kilograms, 12% body fat, 70.4 kilograms of lean body mass. Using the Cunningham equation, the athlete has an RMR of 2,048.8 kilocalories, rounded to 2,049. Then taking into account the training volume and intensity of the off season, using an estimated daily calorie needs activity factor for a male athlete of 1.9 would equal a daily caloric need of 3,893.1 kilocalories per day. The athlete also wants to gain 15 pounds during the off season, so an additional 500 kilocalories per day would have the athlete consuming 4,393.1 kilocalories per day. Protein recommendations to gain weight are 1.5 to 2.0 grams per kilogram per day, which would be 120 to 160 grams per kilogram. In calories, that is 480 to 640 kilocalories per day. Carbohydrate recommendations are 5 to 7 grams per kilogram per day, which would be 400 to 560 grams per kilogram per day. In calories, that would be 1,600 to 2,240 kilocalories per day. Fat recommendations are 20 to 50% daily, which would be 878.62 to 2,196.55 kilocalories per day. As a certified strength and conditioning specialist, my role includes guiding nutrition. To assess an athlete's training readiness, it is important to monitor their weight both before and after practice. In a team environment, having a dietitian or nutritionist can help ensure that athletes attend scheduled meals, thereby supporting their nutritional needs. Let's transition to our program. Here we have Block 1, weeks 1 through 4. We'll also have complex work during B1 through B4. Complex work will be done in either between sets or after the set before the next exercise. Next, we have Block 2, weeks 1 through 4, as we transition from strength endurance and deloading on week 4. Here we have Block 3, 1 through 4, weeks 1 through 4, as we transition to a hypertrophy focus and deloading on week 4 again. Here we have our final block, Block 4, weeks 1 through 4, as we transition into hypertrophy and basic strength and deloading on week 4 again. References are as follows. Thank you for listening.